Let's start with the early years of your childhood. Born in Pietermaritzburg, raised in?
Born in Pietermaritzburg, grew up in Mooi River. And then spent my teen years in Howick, in Hilton. Studied at the University of Pretoria, so sort of 20s was there. And then got a job, got some on that side, and then eventually made my way back to here. I used to work actually in Durban South. So the area, I was a staff member for the DA, so no politics then, we had to work in the back. And I used to work Chatsworth, Umlazi, Spingo, all the way down to Manzimtoti and Unkomos. So I know the bottom half of the city quite well. And that was also an incredibly dynamic time, being in such different communities.
And as the former councillor for Ward 31, you cut your teeth, so to speak, in such a diverse community in Ward 31, from the metropolitan areas of Musgrave to the informal settlements of Sydenham. A diverse portfolio dealing with different issues. How has that transcended into becoming the now mayor of Umgeni and the DA candidate as the premier for KwaZulu-Natal?
If I look at where a lot of the basis of my skills have come from was in Ward 31. I'm incredibly grateful for that community, and I hope hopefully to go back there and maybe host a meeting there, maybe have a come back home meeting. But yeah, as you say, I was always pulled in different directions. So I would be in Musgrave, and then the residents of Sydenham would say I spent too much time there. I'd be spending time with Muslim communities, and then the Catholic community say, well, I have too much time there. So I could never spend enough time with everyone. But I think maybe that's a good thing, because then I was no one's favorite but everyone's favorite, if that makes sense. But again, the stark contrast of reality of affluence, and then 250 meters down the road you have Lacey Road informal settlement, or George Hill informal settlement, and having to deal with the complexities of what happens in those settlements and the interrelationship with more formal communities. But also, again, learning about people. So in the south of Durban, there weren't, besides Wentworth, which I didn't work in, there weren't very many coloured communities, or congregations of coloured communities. And to work with the community of Sydenham was new to me, and the vibrancy there. The Muslim community as well of Overport. I'd worked in Chatsworth with different Muslim organizations, but here's a huge congregation of Muslim residents with a culture, a vibe, a way of doing things, and you get brought into this, and you have to understand the community politics and different ways of doing things. And I learned all sorts of things as well, just culturally as a South African, about Muslim women and interactions, and what not to do, and it's just a learning curve really as a South African, which I don't think many people get to experience, which I'm incredibly grateful for. Beyond the politics, I'm grateful for that.
So is this diverse community where the fluency in isiZulu comes from? Because you have made inroads into rural areas, breaking down the communication barriers.
So I didn't learn it per se. I grew up speaking isiZulu. I learned to read and write it. At school, I made the choice to take Zulu instead of Afrikaans. I also did French at school, which was interesting. But yeah, there weren't very many people to speak English to, and being brought up in a very rural culture, I also learned a lot about custom and tradition. I'm definitely not an expert in that, but language is powerful if you understand the meaning and the culture behind it. So it's easy to translate something, but things have different meanings for different people.
And also the really popular DA chant, 1 and 1 equals victory.
Did you see that? She's got it.
And you're supposed to go?
Yeah, there you go. So 1 + 1 equals win.
Yes.
So the concept behind that is easy. So a lot of people are despondent, to say, well, what's the point? But the reality is, if you break it down to its simplest form, it's that easy. It's that if the DA got 520,000 votes in KZN, and there was whatever it was, 60% of people actually voted. So there's a huge number of people who are not voting, and even a bigger percentage that's not registered to vote. So the concept is, if every DA voter finds one other DA voter, then we can win KZN. The alternative to that is to say, you as an individual plus me as the premier candidate can win KZN. And that's all it is. It's not a complicated thing that we have to do to make a real change in this province, but it just requires that everyone takes a little bit of time and a little bit of energy and a little bit of courage to be able to play their part in winning.
As a young gay white man, you have developed a phenomenal following. I think it's almost 76,000 followers on Facebook. What do you attribute this popularity to, and do you see it transcending into the political arena?
Sure, you're asking me to assess why people follow me. Let's ask the people why they follow me, actually. That would be an interesting exercise. Why do you think Chris Pappas is worth following? But I think I'm just doing what people expect an elected representative to do. By no means my municipality is not perfect. We've only been in government for 22 months, and you don't solve all the problems in 22 months. Especially we're not eThekwini. eThekwini's got billions of rands. We're a rural municipality, but we communicate with our residents. We make mistakes, we admit them, and we tell people how we're going to fix them. People can genuinely see progress across the municipality in different areas. And we're trying to create a government that is not separate from the people, that we're a partner of the people, as opposed to these two different entities that exist. And I always say it, and people will get sick of it, but it's important that I say it, is that it's not my municipality, and it's not the DA's municipality, it's the people's municipality. And we have to create an institution that looks after the people. We are temporary, the institution's permanent. And I think maybe I bring a different energy to politics in KZN. We hear the same speeches, the same, sort of boring rhetoric and debates that happen. And, I'm young enough to be, for young people to recognize and relate to me. But I'm also old enough and experienced enough to say, well, I've run big organizations, in government. I've had experience at different levels, and therefore you can put some sort of confidence in me as a young person to deliver. So I think all of these factors maybe play a difference. And I'm cheeky as well. I like to poke the bear every now and again, which is good. So yeah, I think that does help, that youthfulness to say, well, I was not born in a time when apartheid and colonialism and all these different parts of our history. But I have a responsibility to try and solve the problems that have been caused by them. But then we have a new era. We have 30 years of decline as well. So we have colonialism, we have apartheid, and now we have the 30 forgotten years of our country, which we all know what the different problems are. So one day, 30, 40, 50 years time, we're going to talk about this period of transition, of growing as a new democracy. But I think 2024 offers us an opportunity to draw a line in the sand, sort of our 1994. Okay, we've had this now, we understand what's happening. How do we go forward?
Mayor Pappas, controversy is a norm in the political landscape, and you have been at the center of a controversy recently regarding allegations of abuse of your office as the mayor of Umgeni, that you influenced the awarding of funds to an organization that benefited your former fiancé, Jean-Pierre Prinsloo. And we have the ANC Youth League looking to march on Umgeni, calling for an investigation and your dismissal. What is your response to this?
Sure. So, number one, there's been no evidence put forward. There's a nameless and faceless social media account that just came up with a statement and didn't support it. So, and I was saying this earlier to someone, so the role of politicians is to account, but usually it's fair to account on evidence. But nonetheless, I must answer, it's the rumors out there. So, just to debunk it. So, firstly, the company that they claim that benefited was only registered in August 2023. This is 7 months or 6 months after my fiancé and I ended things. Besides that, the company wasn't established when they claimed it was benefiting money. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that there is no payment of 100,000 Rand. I don't know where they get this 100,000 Rand payment from. What there was a payment of 50,000 Rand towards an event called Light Up Umngeni. And that's something that we do often. We supported Zulu Mbokumeni tourism with 50,000 Rand for a Human Rights Day celebration. We supported Nottingham Road tourism with 50,000 Rand for the Harvest Moon Festival. We support NGOs all the time. Funda Nenja, which is an animal, that do animal care. The SPCA, Fire Protection Association, Angels Care, Friends for Life, which is an HIV/AIDS NPO. All these NPOs receive money from us to do the work that they do. MC Records won a SAMA award about a year and a half ago, and came to us and asked if they could have 50,000 Rand to have an event to showcase local talent. We supported them as well. So it's not an anomaly. And that's what we did in December 2022, is to support Umngeni Tourism, which is not a company. It is like not Durban Tourism, it's like South Coast Tourism, Umhlanga Tourism, Inanda Tourism, who drive tourism in the area. It's made up of a board that's elected from community members like a CPF, like a Ratepayers Association, where my former fiance was the chairperson. Importantly to note is that I declared everything, everywhere along the way, from when I got into as mayor, from when my ex-fiance was re-elected, I declared again just to make sure. At every meeting where finances were discussed, I recused myself, and there's records of that. And none of this gets made public, So the timing of this is really what we need to question now. And that is, why now? Why a week after my premier announcement? And the answer is because they are scared. They are scared of what is going to happen in 2024 in this province, with organizations like the Democratic Alliance, like the IFP, like organizations that are united behind bringing about change. And that's the real reason why they are doing it, because to date, no evidence has been produced against the allegations that they have said. And yet every time I'm asked to respond, I'm able to give them the evidence that they don't have.
And talking about timing, as the DA candidate for Premier in KZN, what does that feel like?
It's exciting. It's a lot of pressure. I think there's an underlying hope in our communities at the moment, and people can feel that it's bubbling up. And to be the face of one of the organizations contesting to try and revive that hope, it's a lot of pressure, but it's incredibly exciting because of the possibilities that we all know exist in our country and in our province. So I'm up for the challenge. There's probably going to be death threats along the way. There's going to be marches. There's going to be news that comes out. But that's the challenge that I've accepted. And if I don't have the courage to be able to confront that, how do I expect voters to have the courage to go out and vote for something different?